Hey, folks. Not pleased with the outcome of the game by any means, but really, really pleased with just how hard our guys played, how they didn't give up when things didn't go well early, continue to play, kind of battled back to make a game of it. At least it could have been a much better game, much closer game, competitive game had we eliminated a lot of mistakes. But uh, but I felt like that at any point, our guys could have seen frustration and guys could have given in. But we played hard all the way through. We got better as the game went on. Really grew up a lot throughout the course of the game, and against a really good opponent, very physical, very well built opponent. We saw improvement. Now, not much for moral victories, as you guys know. So take it for what it's worth. It's a game I felt like that we could have made very close. We had an opportunity had we executed well to be in it and win it. So I'm frustrated in that, and we got to fix that. Hopefully, we'll grow up a lot between week one and week two. Different challenge this week. We don't know a lot about Idaho State. You got one game, new staff, a lot of new. Thought they played a great game against San Diego State, kept it close, had a chance to win it, and so they'll come in. They're dangerous. They're definitely not what their record indicated from a year ago. Um, Coach Hawkins did a phenomenal job getting that group ready, and you could tell they were not intimidated with the environment at San Diego State by any means. The matchup, they're going to come in expecting to win. We're going to have to play. We're going to play better ball. We can't turn the ball over. We've got to create some turnovers, and we missed four really really good opportunities against Iowa. Those are plays that we've got to make. We missed opportunities for explosives, some missed throws, a busted protection when we had guys open for shots. Those are things we're going to have to capitalize on this week against Idaho State, who's going to look completely different than Iowa in terms of how they play offense, the style of play, the style of defense, speed and quickness, all the above. We're going to find out how quickly we can grow up this Saturday. What questions do you have?
J. Salvesen, what's the injury status for you guys health wise coming into this Saturday against Idaho State?
Considering who we played and how physical that game was, we're relatively healthy. I think we're all aware that Max went down and it is a significant injury. I don't have all the details yet. Just chances of him being ready to play anytime soon are not real high. I'll let the doctors handle the rest of it. Beyond that, we're healthy. We didn't lose anybody else. Bumps and bruises. A physical game. We're guys will feel it for a few days, but but we're very fortunate to have only had one guy go down with something that is significant and potentially, season ending.
Jason Walker with Cash Rally Daily. It's kind of a helpful, but also just looking back at the last game, you didn't have a couple of your tight ends. How did that impact your guys' play calling, the formations you were trying to run? And then I guess an update on Josh and Brock and their potential to play this week.
Brock is day to day. He wanted to play this week, wasn't ready. We'd like to think that he'll be ready this week. We're going to be smart about that. Josh is probably another week or two out. To be honest with you, his injury was a little bit more significant earlier in camp. He's doing great. Both are progressing faster than expected, but we want to be smart. It's a 12-game season, not a 1 or 2 game season, if that makes sense. It impacted our play calling dramatically. As you guys could see, we had intended on going in and playing in 11 personnel most of the night and weren't able to do so. I thought Wyatt Bowles did a great job of coming in and giving us a spark in the run game late. It was a lot to ask him in a really short period of time. I did not feel comfortable putting two freshman tight ends on the field against Iowa. Just the physical matchups were in their favor, and that's just a lot. You could tell even in pre-practice that both our young guys, Will and Chase, were extremely nervous. So we did what we thought was best to give us a strategic opportunity to be successful. And had we executed, it would have been plenty enough to be right there and win the game. We just didn't execute well enough. Put our best guys on the field against matchups that we thought were favorable for us. Now we'll get more, I think, in the future to looking like what you guys have all expected from scrimmages and practices, but it just wasn't available this week, and we had to do. That's called coaching, man. Find a way to use your guys, change what you got to, fix what you got to, and and we felt like it gave us a chance.
Which Al Lewis down at KBNU. So to go along with that, you mentioned Wyatt Bowles came in and maybe helped. Was that where the running game got better in the game when you were using more of that kind of deal?
It obviously we sparked some late. Now I think fatigue set in. I feel like we got 72 plays on the day. Our tempo when we did get the first down, our tempo you could visibly see it can be a problem for them. And I thought as the day went on, our guys' conditioning really showed up, and their fatigue showed up, and what were not very good runs early in the game got to be better and better runs as the day progressed. So, yeah, I think he did a good job, and we also knew that what we could do with him was limited in the short period of time we had to get him ready. But he did a good job. It added a spark, and it's definitely something we can continue to use in the future and will.
Patrick Mahon with the Ag Ship. You've had the chance to go back and watch. What did you think about the defensive front, specifically against Iowa's rushing attack?
Well, I think anytime you hold Iowa to below 100 yards rushing, you did something right. You know, we was not perfect, and Joe would be the first one to tell you about a million different mistakes. But without Halle in the middle and playing as many new bodies as we did against a physical downhill run game, play action, pass offensive football team, to be able to hold them to 88 yards rushing, I think our guys did a tremendous job. I told Joe they give us a chance to win. Anytime you hold somebody to 24 or less, we're supposed to win the game. Offense has got to pull their weight, and we didn't. Now, that being said, we got to create turnovers, and we didn't. But we did hold up in some running situations and loaded boxes in big sets, better than we have in the past. So that's encouraging.
Andrew Hyde, KSL.com.
Anderson, Jason for.
All right, who's first? Come on now.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. All right, sorry, I guess I'll go. Sorry, Andrew. Yeah, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. Both of Idaho State's sacks last week were by guys from Idaho, kid from Highland, kid from Rigby. They had a really nice touchdown catch from a kid from Rigby, Gatlin Bear, Colston at Michigan. You've got Paul Fitzgerald. What does that say to kind of the talent that Idaho's been able to produce, especially for a state with a pretty small population base?
Well, we've all watched guys from there do great things at a lot of different places. It doesn't surprise me that they've developed some guys that are playing really well. We're pleased with what Paul's doing. I know we always try to scour the state, all the local surrounding states, and see what's available. One of the best wideouts in the country, just committed a couple weeks back from Idaho as well. So, that it doesn't surprise me that you got a good FCS program that has taken a local guy, and developed him, and you're seeing key plays from him. That's what it's all about. We see that right here in our own state with the 1AA and Division II schools. They're seeing the same thing. So, and we're gonna keep recruiting and seeing where we can tap into the surrounding states as well as Utah to build a roster.
Andrew Hyde, KSL.com. Coach, how much of an advantage do you feel like you'll have this week playing at home rather than playing on the road?
Well, we love playing at home, and the energy you get from playing at home is awesome, and not having to travel. But when all that kind of dies down, it's still 11-on-11 football. We got to play better ball than we did last week to win. And we're 100% sure these guys will come in expecting to beat us right here at home. So I love being in front of our crowd. I hope they come out in huge numbers to support this group and just how hard they played last week. What's possible with this group is, a complete unknown, but really excited about how we started, at least in terms of how we responded to how that first quarter went. So I know our band and our student section will show up big. Hopefully the rest of the Aggie Nation will do the same, and that does lift our guys. It energizes. It is crucial to be in front of our home crowd and just kind of what that it does for you.
Patrick Mahon again. How much are you using last year's Weber State game as sort of a teaching point heading into this one?
I'm definitely going to come up, and we got our tails kicked. We didn't play well at all. We didn't really respect the opponent the way we should. I talked to them all a week about it and told them it was possible and told them it was probable. Even if we didn't respect the process, all they got to do is watch how well these guys played San Diego State and remember last year. Even though there's a lot of guys in the room that weren't here, it's recent history, and we don't want to repeat it. So You got to respect every opponent and the process of every week. And this team is no different than any other. If we don't play our best football, we deserve to get beat. And that doesn't matter who you're playing. And these guys will come in with a lot of confidence from how they played against San Diego State. I would expect that they went in not really with super high expectations, probably came out of it with ridiculously high expectations about what's possible because of how well they played. So we're going to get their best shot.
Coach Al again from the radio station. So how they played in that game, they only ran the ball 15 times. Did they go into the game thinking they couldn't run against San Diego State, or is this their style? They played two quarterbacks. They listed another guy as a starter before the year started, and he didn't even play in the game. So what are they, a passing team then, I guess?
Well, I think they're a pass RPO based team. They've got really good wideouts spread out. Both those quarterbacks, I thought both of them came in and did a really good job. You take away a few plays here or there, that game changes. I think they want to spread you out, play quick, RPO and screen you to death. Very similar to the approach we took against Iowa, try to play you out in space. They executed the plan really well. I thought, Cody, I think he runs the offense. You could tell he kept San Diego State off balance. He used two different quarterbacks for different reasons, both 9 and 2 at wideout, and even another, I want to say like 17. All those guys made competitive catches in traffic. They handled San Diego State's front fairly well in terms of protection when needed, and then they created turnovers defensively, which kept them in the game. So, I mean, this is you're doing a really good job taking over a program that struggled a year ago and going out and playing with the kind of confidence they did. I think that's who they are. It's what we need to anticipate them being, and knowing we got to match up in that kind of football.
Let's get follow up about Coach Hawkins. Did you know his dad? Do you know him? Do you have any relationship with those guys?
Well, I don't really know Cody. I know of him, and I've met his dad and done interviews with his dad, and obviously coached against him at different points in his career. But I know Coach Cephalo and Cody are tight. They grew up together and have a tremendous history, and everything we know about him is just a tremendous amount of respect. And I can already see the job he's doing. Just watching the guys on the sideline. I watched that whole game the other night. The smiles, the energy, the culture that he's creating. Man, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's going to get that thing moving in the right direction. We just don't want it to happen this week.
Andrew Hyde, KSL.com. Coach, you mentioned a few times in a few different conferences about how you're trying to eliminate some of those costly mistakes from the Iowa game. What are you planning to do specifically this week, especially with those penalties, to try to eliminate those this week in practice?
We've had a ton of conversations about penalties, and it's not the first. I've been dealing with this for years, and the whole staff and I put our heads together. I feel like if you're going to play with your hair on fire and play with the energy level that we need, you're going to get right up to the edge a lot. We talk about getting up to the edge and not going across it. We won 2 championships at Arkansas State, and we won a championship here by being able to play that way. I mean, talent-wise, on paper, we're not more talented than a lot of people that we beat. And so that culture and that environment and how hard we play is a staple. It's part of who we are. And you know as well as I, if you play to that line, it's at times you're going to cross it. And so we have some, more than what I'd like to. It's kind of like raising your kids, though. You treat them fair, but not exactly the same in each instance. A competitive penalty where a guy's hands end up on a face mask, or a guy, you're competitive, you're in the heat of the battle, and you end up grabbing a face mask inadvertently, or you end up with some type of collision that's inadvertent. Those you got to teach. You got to take tape, and we will today as a staff, in front of the entire team, and we'll teach, man, hand placement. You feel a face mask, it's got to move. You feel the hand rise up into the face of an opponent, you got to move it. You got to stay up on this block. We're going to try to teach those situations. The ones that frustrate you are the ones that are completely unforced errors that are selfish behavior, and those you treat differently. And you kind of have 2 different places. You got a guy like Kessie who dove on the pile. It's completely wrong. Cannot do it. Can't do it again. But he's also one of our better players that's earned some equity and has done a lot of great things and good things and does every day. We're going to discipline him. He's going to get a spanking, I promise you, just like our kids do. We're also going to try to teach him through it and make sure and use him as an example so it doesn't happen again. Now, he doesn't get a lot of rope here. If these continue to show up, he won't be on the field. It's that simple. Can't have it. But you got a guy like Josh Williams who basically played a couple of his first snaps ever, who has been told not to make mistakes, selfish mistakes, and he blatantly made one, and you won't see him back on the field for quite some time, if at all. He doesn't have equity built up. He has not earned the right or an opportunity to make those mistakes. And that one was blatant and egregious and completely selfish. And he knew it when he did it. And so I don't really need to see him on the field until he grows up, if at all. So it's a complex thing. Competitive penalties, unforced selfish mistakes, treat them fair but not equal, teach and discipline just like you would your kids, and hope that we can move past it, but also understand if we're going to play at the level of effort and intensity that we want, you're going to have some times where you spill over that line, and hopefully we can overcome those and avoid as many as possible. Hope that's a good answer for your question. I know a lot of people are asking. I get it. Nobody's more frustrated than we are. But it's allowed us to win championships too, to play that hard. How do we draw back from that line? I don't want to become passive. I don't want to become soft. I don't want to play with less effort or chase. We need all those things to win. Is getting to that line but not crossing it is the skill that we have to learn, the discipline we have to learn, and this team clearly hadn't learned that yet.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner again. Obviously, Idaho State forced 3 turnovers against the San Diego State, but what else did you see? What else did you see from their defensive identity? What is Idaho State's defensive identity?
They run what we call a spoke defense, which is what you're seeing at TCU and at Iowa State. Iowa State really kind of perfected it. Iowa State and Tulsa are 2 of the first that we've seen to run it. It is a 3-down front with 2 backers and what we call a spoke or star safety that kind of roams from the middle of the field. It gives them a lot of versatility to get to a bunch of different looks. They're downhill players. They're downhill players, and they play physical. So it's going to look different than Iowa, but it is just as frustrating of a matchup because they can get to so many things from that alignment. We're going to have to cover bodies up, really ID who the threats are. We're going to have to utilize the perimeter really, really well, protect the quarterback. And maybe the hardest part for the quarterback is all the different variations of coverage that can come from one very basic look. And he's going to have to dissect that and work through that on the run post-snap to push the ball into the safest areas of the field. And he's got to do a better job of that than he did this week. We missed several big opportunities in the throw game with errant throws or misreads, and then we pushed the ball in a couple areas that we just can't. One of those being picked and several others that could have been. We took sacks in a couple of situations where we can't out of indecisive, decision-making. We got to grow up this week. Coop's got to grow up this week. It's my job to get him there. He's got to grow up this week to help us to win games, and he can be better than he was this week.
Coach Patrick Mayhorn again. I might have just missed him, but I didn't see Javar Strong on the field. Was that a matchup decision, or is he not available?
Javar played, didn't he? Number 3. Now, I don't know how many snaps, but he played. I just don't know to the amount. Doug would have to look at the reps, but he definitely played and was supposed to play. And as far as I remember, he was on the field some. So I'm not sure. He wasn't in trouble. He'd been working all camp and expected him to be in the 2 deep. And as far as I know, he played at least to some degree.
Coach, I don't know if anybody's asking, are we going to have 2 place kickers? The 2 guys or what?
We do have 2 place kickers. We always have. As a matter of fact, Elliott's going to handle the kickoff duties. Will's going to handle most of the field goal duties. But, there comes a kind of a break point to where we feel like his leg is at right now. So we may throw Elliott out there some. That was kind of the plan going in. We didn't want them to really know whether a left footer or right footer was coming. And so people know in the future they kind of have to prepare for both. What else you got? Well, it's going to be beautiful at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. So hopefully Aggie Nation will show up in big numbers. Our guys, they did a great job last week of battling. Not the outcome we wanted, but the resiliency and the effort and just how we grew up throughout the game. Excited to play here at home. Hopefully folks will come out. We look forward to seeing you. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Jason Walker with Cash Valley Daily. I know there are obviously some mistakes in this game. It seemed like one of the things you guys did really well was tackling. There was only a handful of missed tackles the entire game. You had a couple of really good stops yourself. Let's talk about the emphasis on tackling, how that kind of paid off in a lot of ways against Iowa.
Coach C, he does a very good job making sure we put a lot of attention to detail in the tackling. We do tackle circuit every day. That's one of the main things he came in and said that we had to get better at, and especially, playing safety and being on the back end, the last line of defense. It's our job to get them down. We want to have no missed tackles. That was our goal going into the game. One of our goals is to have no missed tackles. So, we just applied what we do at practice into the game, and, it worked out for us.
Today, Al Lewis from KBNU Radio and Logan got two for you. One is, how do you describe the position you play? Are you a linebacker, a safety? How do you put that? And then also understand you were supposed to play for Coach Coffin at Arkansas State at one time, and now you get a chance to play for him at Utah State. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, first on my position, it's a hybrid position, but I tell Coach, like, whatever he needs, whatever I need to do to help the team win, I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna prepare. Like, it's something that I do every day, but wherever he wants to plug me in at, I feel like I could play it all. I'm not really like what they say in football, like a high rep guy, a guy that gotta do a lot of things over and over and over to get it down or to do it right. We can go on film and he can show me something, and I feel like I can do it, and then just go out there and just tweak the little small mistakes that I make during practice, and then I feel all right with it. And then with Coach C, yeah, so the interesting thing is, when I was at Marion, he actually came and visited me, and then as soon as he walked out, he got the call from Houston, and he took the job at Houston. So ever since then, I've been wanting to be coach bound. When I first got to Arkansas State, all the players that was coach bound, they was like, "Man, I wish you could have got coached by Coach C. He would have loved you. You would have loved him," and all that. So like when I found out he was coming here to be the DC, my eyes lit up.
Hey, Patrick Mayhorn with the Ag Chef. I just want to ask about sort of the feelings that you were going through this Saturday, finally being able to get back on the field after the journey that you've gone through since last year.
It was high emotions for me just because I feel like I put in a lot of work in order just to be able to play football, and just being out there with my guys, being out there with my brothers. I told them before the game when we got in our little huddle, I was like, "Hey, I got y'all back. I know y'all got my back. I'm gonna give y'all everything I got." So, just going through all those things, I think it really prepared me for the moment, because I believe that God doesn't make a mistake. And so, like, with me having my injury, it was a blessing for me in disguise, because God taught me so much during those moments that, prepared me for the moment that I had Saturday. So I just made the best of it.
Jay Salveson. You guys obviously had a quick 14 put on you guys, and then you were able to defensively play extremely well for the last three quarters. What adjustments did you guys make against Iowa that ended up being a difference for you defensively?
Really wasn't no adjustments. We had a great game plan. The coaches, shout out to them. They did their thing with making the game plan. It's really, we just calmed down, because you look at the quick 14. We have a DB that falls. He was in great position until he fell. So, that's a layup for them. And then we let them score on the goal line, which they shouldn't have been on the goal line. We had penalties that got them there. But when we settled down and we stopped beating ourselves, like, no change, no adjustments in the calls or the techniques or nothing. We just stopped beating ourselves. And then you seen that we was in the game. I think ever since they got the 14 points, we outscored them 14-10 for the rest of the game after that 14. So, we gave them 14 points. So we beat ourselves.
Go ahead, Jason.
just ask about creating turnovers. That's something that didn't really happen much in spring or fall camp. Obviously against Iowa, had a couple of close calls there, but still not really creating any turnovers. I guess what's the key for you guys to finally start creating those turnovers? I guess starting with.
Um, I take that bullet. That's my fault because Coach C, he tells us all the time, like in practice, like we have a goal to get so many punch outs during practice or punch attempts on the ball, and we haven't really been. We've been trying to apply it, but we haven't been making a mental effort to make that something that's second nature to us. And so I take that because I'm a leader on this defense, and I should make sure that everybody on the team is getting punches on the ball. So that's on me. We'll get better at that. We'll start implementing it more in practice and let it carry over to the game. So, I mean, yeah, we got to create turnovers. That's something we should have had. We missed 4 opportunities Saturday, and so hopefully, we just take that and learn from it. We watch the film, watch the tape, take it and learn from it, apply it to practice, and then it'll show up on Saturday.
Now, Lewis, again, my question, Anthony, is for this game, you went into Iowa thinking they were going to try to run the ball, and obviously their passing game maybe hurt you more than their running game in the end. Now, Idaho State threw 63 times against San Diego State. So it sounds like they kind of do some things like we do offensively with our offense. So I know you haven't really studied a lot of film yet this week for this game, but what are your thoughts towards going against a team like?
I love the challenge. I love when the ball's in the air because this one thing Coach C taught me. He was like, we play defense, but we got a mindset like we on offense, the way we attack the ball. So, we always going after the ball, and they're gonna put it in the air for us. And yeah, I done watched a lot of film on Idaho State already. I know they had 63 pass attempts, 15 rush attempts. The quarterback that they got from JUCO, I think he had around like 43% completion. The other quarterback had around like 54 completion percentage. So, they throw the ball a lot, not really a high completion rate, but I watched the film. They do some great things. They have a lot of great route concepts. Number 2, he's a really electric receiver. He's really good. O-line protects well, as you've seen versus San Diego State. So, I like a team like this that loves to put the ball in the air because it gives me more opportunities to go make a play on it. So I'm always challenging myself, like, let's see if we could break the NCAA pick record this game or something. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah.
Jason Walker with Cash Valley Daily. I want to ask about kind of the run blocking when you guys were in like 10 personnel versus 11.
Mm-hmm.
How much does that change thing as far as the run blocking, and maybe also talk about how kind of late in the game you went to 11 personnel and you broke off like 2 or 3 big runs there, kind of.
This is in regards to the Iowa game, correct?
The Iowa game.
Okay, so I guess it really just came down to the different looks we were expecting. We knew that if we were to stay in 10 personnel, we'd get more 5-man boxes, hoping to kind of take advantage of 5-on-5 matchups. We knew if we brought a tight end in, then we'd look at a 2-backer box. But Iowa did a great job of kind of switching things up, giving us different looks than we were expecting when we got into the game. And so our 10 personnel wasn't quite hitting for us the way we'd hoped. We were lucky enough to, make some changes on the fly, and things started working for us towards the end. But yeah, it's just kind of comes down to the matchups and what we think is going to give us the best shot of success.
Al Lewis from KVNU. I talked to you earlier about losing to Weber State last year with your brother when we talked preseason. Now you get Idaho State this week. I mean, kind of the same situation in a game as last year. I mean, will you mention that to some of the guys who weren't around last year, or do you think everybody will just remember that and remember what kind of opponent you have this week?
I've 100% talked about it, at least definitely with the guys in my room, and definitely going to be making sure that everybody else on the team is aware of the fight we have coming up this weekend. Idaho State's a good team. They gave San Diego State, a lot of trouble this last weekend, and so they're nobody to be overlooked. They're a great team, got a good coaching staff, and we have to take them seriously. We have to come ready to work and fight each day to get better, to make sure that we're watching film and know what we're expecting to see and stuff. Because as you mentioned with last year, we kind of, a lot of the team came in thinking it was going to be an easy game against Weber, and it turned out to be anything but that. So we're going to make sure that we, take things seriously, prepare right, and just get ready to play our best.
So I ask you just to evaluate how the offensive line played. You as a group, when you sat down with your coaches, what was the evaluation like?
We've yet to sit down as a team, or at least as a position group, and really watch film and go over our performance. I think that just from my recollection and the little bit of review that I've done on my own, I think we did a lot of good things, especially against a defense as sound and skilled as Iowa's. We did a lot of good things. There's obviously a lot to work out, a lot of growing pains of a young and new offensive line, but the future's bright. I think we got a lot to work on, but I think that we've got a ton of potential for our room.
Jason Walker again. With so many new players, the term unproven got thrown around a lot. I know I used that in the off season. But I guess, do you feel like there were things that you guys were able to prove in this first game? And I guess, what more do you feel like you guys with this game going forward?
Well, I think first and foremost, we proved that we're not going to give up, that we're going to keep fighting until the clock hits zeros, no matter what the situation is. Things didn't start off in our favor against Iowa. We fell behind quick, but we were able to keep our heads up and keep working, and we're able to fight our way back into the game late in the game. And so I think that's something to be proud of. That's something to hold on to, is the fact that we're not going to give up, that we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep clawing and scratching until, we get the desired outcome. I think that's a big thing to hold on to the rest of the season. As far as what's left to be unproven, is that we can start that way, instead of waiting to get behind and then fighting back, just making sure that we're being aggressive from the jump and getting ahead instead of trying to fight from behind.